Hello there, and thanks so much for joining me for another video. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to be painting this Easter egg bouquet Easter card. If you do like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and to see more tutorials like this one, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Let's jump in and get painting. Okay, so for today's tutorial, I have a piece of cardstock. I want my final card to be 5 by 7, so I have a piece of cardstock that's 10 by 7 that I just scored down the middle and folded it in half. For my painting, because I want a 1/4 inch pink border all the way around, I have made this 4.5 by 6.5. And I've also gone ahead and written Happy Easter along the top, just so I have it in place and I know where to place my bouquet, okay? I'm not going to do calligraphy with this. I'm just going to do plain script. So you'll need a marker to write in Happy Easter as well. And I am using my Baohong Academy cold press watercolor paper today. I did do practice bouquets on non-cotton paper, so if you're not using cotton paper, you should be fine. This is 140 pound. Yeah, that's about it. I also have my Royal Talons Van Gogh paints, a jar of water, and a paper towel. And for brushes, I have 2 Princeton Neptune rounds, one in a size 8, one in a size 4, and I have a Curry's store brand 2500 series in a size 10 round. Oh, you will also need something to apply this to your cardstock. I just use a glue stick. You can use double-sided tape or even a glue gun if that's all you have. So to start, I am going to start with the egg. So I'm going to use my size 10 round. And I've also got a couple of scrap pieces of paper here in case I want to test the colors. Okay, so I'm going to start with a pink egg, and I'm using quinacridone rose. And just a very light, well, light to medium wash of it to start. And I'm going to do my first egg shape right about here. This might be a little dark. I'm just going to take some of the pigment off my brush. Okay, so there's my first egg, and I'm just going to fill it all in. Don't worry if your egg shapes aren't perfect. I've got a little bit of pooling there, so I'm just going to pick that up. So I'm just tapping my brush off on my paper towel and just picking up that extra pigment. Okay, now I also want a little bit of a highlight down this side, so I'm just going to pick up with a clean damp brush, just run it down that side, like so. Then I'm going to tap off all the excess water, go back into that pink, and just to get a bit of shading, actually, you know, I'm going to strengthen that up a bit. Just to get a bit of shading down the one side, I'm just going to run my brush along this one edge, and that's going to bleed in. Hopefully not too much. If you think it's starting to bleed too much, you can always go in and pick some of it up with your brush, but I'll just leave that and see how that goes. So I want some of these eggs to overlap, but we need to wait for this egg to dry. So I'm going to move over here now. I'm going to do a purple egg. And I'm just using permanent violet, what is it? Permanent blue violet, and it's very, very strong. So I'm just going to water that down. It's better to start off light, obviously, than to go too dark. I want soft Easter colors. I don't want them really dark. So I'm just going to, see, that's too dark. So I'll add more water. Get a lighter wash. That's better. And I'm just going to do another egg over here, but I'm going to tilt it off to the right just a titch. That may not be dark enough. Like so. That's kind of a wonky shaped one, but it's all good. So I'm just going to spread this around. Again, if you've got too much water, you can just pick it up with a clean, dryish brush. And again, I want to highlight over here, so I'm picking up some of that pigment just to get a little bit of a highlight. This one's not picking up so easily. That's okay. Barely a highlight there, but I don't want to mess with it too much. So that's good enough for me. And I'm going to go back into a stronger value of this purple. And again, just with the tip of your brush, tap it in this one side. Okay, so I'm kind of treating this like the light's coming from over here a bit. And just by putting a little bit of shading on there, it just gives your egg a little bit of shape. This one can stand to be a little fatter, I think. I'm just going to bring it out just a little bit over here. Like so. Now I'm going to see if this one's dry enough. I think it's kind of dry enough. And I'm going to do a green egg over there. See, this one's bleeding in too much, so I'm just going to pick some of it up. It might not be as soft an edge as I want, but that's okay. Put a little more dark just on this edge. There we go. So now for the green, I'm going to use cobalt blue. That's a lot of cobalt blue. And I think I'll try some Azo Yellow Medium, see how that goes for a green. Again, water it down a little bit. See what that gives us. It's a little dark. I like that. That works. So I'll just make sure it's watered down enough. Okay, so I'm just going to drag my brush along the edge of my jar to get some of the pigment off. And I want it kind of overlapping this egg here. So I want to be very careful when I go in to do that. So I'm going to put it just over here. Maybe up a little higher. Then I want to be careful about where it hits that pink egg. So I'm going to turn my board, bring it down, and just be very careful where I hit that egg. I don't want to overlap. You'll get a really hard edge there. I'd rather have a little bit of white space than to have it overlap. So I'm just spreading that pigment around to avoid any pooling. Like so. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a highlight in this guy as well. And then I'll go back into that pigment, just a little stronger value, and tap it in. On this edge. Like so. And that should bleed out. Then I want a blue egg, and I'm going to overlap the blue egg on the, actually, you know what? No, I'm going to do a yellow egg. So for the yellow egg, I think I will try yellow ochre because it's a little warmer, but I think if I water it down, it might be a pretty decent yellow. We'll see. If not, we'll try something else. Might be a little warm. So maybe I will add in a little bit of permanent lemon yellow. That's really bright. I don't like that. Put in a little bit more of the yellow ochre. Again, water that down. I'm going to really water that down. I think the color's okay, it's just really strong. So I'm going to get a lot of that pigment off my brush. And we're going to do a yellow one that's going to overlap the purple egg. So I'm going to go get the basic shape down. Then when we get closer to that purple egg, I'm going to flip my board upside down and just be very careful again, not to hit the edge of that purple egg. Like that. This can maybe be a little fatter as well. There's also a little hair in there. There, oh, I think I got it. Okay. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of a highlight again. Not that you'll really see too much of a highlight on the yellow egg because the yellow's kind of hard to see. So I'm going to get more of that stronger pigment and just put it down this right hand side for that shadow. Now you see a lot of people when they want to do shadows, you add a little bit of the opposite color and that makes like a brownish shadow. I don't want my eggs going muddy, so that's why I'm just using more pigment instead of like a true shadow color. And I think that egg looks a little tiny. Just gonna get some more pigment watered down and maybe just beef up this edge here. And you'll see my eggs are going into my lettering a bit, or very close to it. I'm okay with that because when I do some of the greenery, I do want some of the greenery to actually go up to those letters. So I'm going to go back in and pick that highlight back up. It's a lot of effort for something that you can hardly see. Now, one last egg. I think I'm going to do blue. This is a little off center, but it's all good. So for the blue egg, I'm just going to use, I think, cerulean blue. which is quite bright, and maybe just a little bit of cobalt blue added to it. Just a little bit. And we'll see what that looks like. That looks pretty Eastery. I think I like that. And we're going to put this right here, and I'm thinking my yellow egg might be a little wet. So to speed things up, I'm just going to hit this with my heat tool. There we go. And I want this blue egg to be underneath the yellow one. And right about here. So now this is going to be right along the edge of this yellow one. So just being very careful. Hopefully I've kept that egg shape. Cerulean blue is very staining, so I have to kind of work fast on this guy. Keep it kind of moving. There we go. So I'm going to clean and dry off my brush, pick up a little bit of a highlight. Like so. And go back into that pigment, just not so watered down, and just tap in some stronger pink pigment here. Now it's not going to have too much of a shadow up that side because the yellow egg's on top of it, okay? So that's fine. I just don't like that kind of pointed edge on it. Right here. See if I can fix that without making too much of a mess. There we go. And I think it looks like it might be a little skinny, so I'm just going to add a little bit to this edge. Hopefully it won't bloom on me. Just to give it the appearance that it's a little fatter underneath that yellow egg. There we go. Now that shadow's creeping out a little further than I would like, so I'm just going to pick some of it up with a clean, damp brush. Tapped most of the water off. Okay, so now my eggs are a little off center that way, but I'm not going to stress over it. We're going to start putting in some greenery now. And I think I will switch to my number 8 Princeton Neptune because it holds a lot of water. So I'm going to make nice kind of springy green. I'm just going to start with plain sap green. Okay. I think what I will do, and I'm not going to worry about the stems of the eggs right now. We'll get the greenery in, just kind of like the loose greenery in. So we'll just do some kind of long grassy leaves like that. I'm going to take some of the water off my brush, tap it off with my paper towel, and just kind of soften that out. Just like that. Maybe we'll do another one over here. Just kind of do them wavy and apply some pressure and then lift up just to get different thicknesses. You can go in and tap some more pigment along one of the edges just to give it some shape. Just like that. Okay, and I think I will add in some olive green. which is a little warmer, but it's also still got that yellowy tone. Okay, tap some of the pigment off, and I'm just going to do some kind of grasses, long, skinny grasses, just like that. And I want some to come past the egg, so I'm just going to bring it right to that egg and then just kind of imagine it coming down like this. And we're not worried about, you know, having a stem at the bottom for every sprout that's going to come up, because we're just going to put a bunch of stuff down and it'll just kind of look a little more natural that way. Just going to add some of it to this leaf here and here. You just kind of play around. You can switch to a smaller brush. I think I will be switching to a smaller brush soon. In fact, I'm going to do that right now because I think what I want to put in are some little kind of curly grasses. Maybe I'll even add some cobalt blue to that, just to make a different green. Okay, so I've got my smaller brush and I'm going to come up and just do some kind of curly things like that. We'll do one coming up here. And that can even go over the green egg. Just bring it down. Do a few more long grasses. And I'm going to go over the yellow egg and even into the lettering like that. I didn't mean to do that though, so I will clean this off. Greens lift fairly easily, so that's a good thing. There we go. Then I want to do some kind of fern-like things. So I'm going to go over some of this. So I'm going to make it a little darker. Maybe add in some ultramarine blue. And some olive green. It's still a little blue. Add a little more sap green in there. And then I'm going to, I think, put one in here. So I'm just going to put a stem in, like so. Maybe coming out a little bit. And I'm just going to push my brush down like that. And push that all the way down. And we get this kind of fern-ish. Just kind of holding my brush a little backwards there. Just come down on both sides like so. So I'm just pushing my brush down and letting the brush do the shape. Okay, and then out of that, I'm going to branch off another little bit and do the same thing. Like that. Maybe I'll do another one over here. Now I'm doing this darker because I want it to go over the grass that we already have down there. Maybe we'll have it come up here a little bit. Like so. Now I'm going to go and add a little bit more of the sap green, but I'm going to use it fairly concentrated. And I'm just going to get some stems on the actual eggs. Okay, so I'm not going to fuss too much, but we'll just have one off the pink guy like this. Put one off the purple guy. That was a little thick. And then we'll imagine one coming off the blue egg. I don't want to go into that pink. And that would be coming down right about here and coming out. And then we're just going to curve it back in. But like I say, we don't have to make sure we, you know, do this exact. And then one off the green guy that would come down about here. But I'm going to be putting leaves over this too, so don't stress over that too much. Now I want to lighten things up a bit. So I'm going to go back to sap green, water it down a little bit, and maybe plunk some leaves up here just to get some green in there. One in here. Maybe one just tucked in there. And I think I will go and do just a few more grasses. I don't want to get carried away though. And then just fill in some of the green in here, just with some wisps of blades, just like this. So my brush is almost dry and I'm just kind of adding to that a bit. A little more olive green just to give it some kind of yellow tones. That was a little heavy. Just gonna pick a little bit of that up. And I think we just need something kind of, I don't know. You know what, I'm just gonna bring this one out a bit. Bring this guy out a bit. Like so. Maybe do a leaf coming out of here. That might have been a bit much. That's okay. Okay, now one other thing I wanted to do was add some speckles to some of these eggs. So I think on the yellow one, I'm going to do pink speckles. So back into that quinacridone rose. Okay, and I want them a little watered down, but I'm going to put them on a little stronger just to start, and then I'm just going to tap on them with my paper towel just to lighten them up. So I don't want them too strong. Now I don't want to splatter because obviously we don't want to have to kind of mask this off. So I'm just tapping with the tip of my brush. And it does look a little strong now, but I'm going to, like I say, tap it up with my paper towel and that'll lighten things up. Okay, so just do some really small ones and some bigger ones, just like that. Go in with the paper towel and just pick up like that. So they're a little softer. And then I don't want to speckle them all, but I'm going to speckle the pink one with some of that purple. Which was the permanent blue violet. And again, it's pretty strong. And just with the tip of your brush, some small speckles, some bigger ones. Just do it fairly quickly so you can go in and tap them up before they dry too much. These ones really kind of clung to the paper a bit, so I'm just going to see if I can wet them a bit, some of them, and tap them back up just to lighten them up a bit. Because they're a little darker than I wanted. But I don't want to reactivate that pink underneath. There we go. And my card looks a little off center, but I'm going to try not to stress too much about that. But I think I will just kind of put some more flicks over here. Just fill this in with a little bit of some lighter greens. And actually I think it's a little heavier than I wanted, but I think we can save this because I'm going to go in with my number 8 Neptune and just put some water down here just to reactivate some of that green and just tap some of it up because it was just getting a little too heavy down here. And I think part of the problem is that these guys went really heavy, so I'm just gonna tap some of that up as well, just to lighten them up. It's getting a little bottom heavy. Luckily, like I say, the green reactivates and lifts quite easily, so no harm done. Then I'm going to go back in with my size 4 and just put a little bit of darkness back in, not too much. I don't want to get carried away and have the same problem that I had before. You know, there just might be too much going on here too. Let me see if I can lift this up. I'm not all that thrilled. It's just a little heavy. Even if I can just soften it. That's much better. Maybe what I'll end up doing, just to let you know that you can fix it when you screw up like this, I may end up just trimming it a little bit more here and a little bit more here. And that way it'll kind of be a little more balanced. I also do know that my lettering is too far to the right, so when I ink it in, I'm going to start a little further to the left. Actually, you know what, I'm going to hit this with my heat tool again because I don't want to smear this with my hand. Okay, and so for my lettering, like I said, I'm not going to do calligraphy. I'm just going to do monoline script, and I have a Sharpie. I think it's from their like a Mystic Gem collection, which was like a limited edition, but I like it because it's kind of like a muted purple, and I don't want anything really drastic. The only thing is with just these plain Sharpies, they do tend to bleed, so you can't leave your hand on the paper for a long time. Okay, you kind of have to just do this quick. So now I'm just going to erase the pencil lines, glue this down to my cardstock, and we'll take a look at the final card. So there you go. There is our finished Easter egg bouquet Easter card. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful. And if you do give this a try and you're on Instagram, please be sure to share and tag me so I can have a look. That's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you back next time.